Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are Above Replacement Radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I am your host, Chris Gianza. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today. I am off like my biggest baseball bender of the year, I think. It's the Thursday through Sunday to start the season is always the most, glue yourself to the TV, don't take your eyes off it, and from 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. every day. And that's what I've been on this week. It helps that I also have a pet recovering from surgery that requires me to basically stay in his presence at all times, or at least at most times. So I've been very preoccupied with two things: baseball and taking care of my cat that just got neutered.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Theo. Hoping for the best for Theo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it is interesting. I noticed, like, I've noticed the past couple of years, I watch baseball the first few games of the year like so much more intently than I do like in August or whatnot, just because I like everything's like it's all new again. I can like everything, like nothing, everything can surprise me. I don't know what it is about it, and maybe it's just the fact that I haven't watched the sport for the sport live for 5 months. But yeah, I'm just there's no amount of locked in that reaches that point of like opening weekend. So yeah, it's been fun for sure. And
there's also, I always have that moment, sorry to cut you off, but I always have that moment like on Monday where it's like, oh my God, and now they go play other series. I'm not gonna watch 162 Braves Padres games in San Diego this year.
Yeah, it is.
You're telling me the Guardians are leaving Kansas City?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, no, it is weird.
You get so used to the opening weekend matchup, so you're like, oh my God, now we got an entirely new slate this time.
Yeah, our brains are just wired that way. It's like, oh wow, like Garrett Crochet is going to make another start for the Red Sox. That's pretty crazy. That's
and if all goes right, he's going to do it 32 times this year.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. Like, and with the statement I made earlier is it's exemplified. Like, I was so locked into that Rays Rockies game on Friday.
Yeah,
like that most times of the year, I can watch that fairly distractedly, but I was glued on every pitch, and they're playing in front of 10,000 people, but it's opening day, and it's the first game of the year for both teams. It's depending on it's gonna.
It's also just such a weird. There was also just a unique experience watching that game for the first time, given the the venue.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, Cameron Meisner.
Wait,
the guy who hit the walk-off home run in that game.
Oh yeah, right.
He has a very like a very Austin Meadows swing. That was my observation. Maybe it's just because he did it in a Rays uniform.
Yeah, I forgot what Austin Meadows' swing looks like. Unfortunately, he hasn't been on the field that much.
If you see Cameron Meisner's swing, you'll be like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's okay. I could go in.
Yeah, go look it up. Yeah, it was it was a very fun weekend, obviously. This is, like I said, it's my biggest baseball bender of the year. That's what I always call it, because it literally is like I always take off work for it. I left work at 2:00 Eastern time on Thursday. As Chris is now watching that video, I had to go get Theo at 5:30, so I did miss the first Wilyer Abreu home run of Thursday's game, but I was watching for the second one, which is really the one you needed to watch. But it's weird how much you miss. Like, I came back, I had literally every game on, because I had like the two screens, plus I put everything on my laptop the way that I was able to. And I came back and it's like, wait, the Giants are winning over the Reds now. The Royals came back against Class A. Like, how did that all happen? And that was like a 40-minute period.
Right, right. And it how our brains are wired. It's like, oh man, the Guardian season is turning around. Look
Because
at
there's also
that.
so much you draw so many conclusions in the first few innings of any game. It's like, man, like I was watching that Reds game, and it's like, man, Hunter Green might just win the Cy Young this year. Like he
Mhm.
looks so good. And I come back from getting Theo and they're down like 6-3 in the ninth.
Right, exactly. It's like, oh, maybe it's like, oh, well, I guess you have to take him out after the first time through the order. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, everything is a full conclusion after the first game of the year.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's part of what this annual episode is dedicated to. I see the similarities in Cameron Meisner and Austin Meadows for sure. Can have a
Yeah.
short stroke trying to pull the ball.
Mhm.
Um, but
Going like getting a pitch down and in.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Like you can see in your head what that looks like for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this is our third time this year, or third time with this podcast that we're going to be doing opening weekend overreactions. And it's kind of dedicated to that point of just, seeing a few games and being like and drawing conclusions based off of it.
Mhm.
Sometimes
I wonder
sometimes things can go in the right direction.
what were my ones from last year? I want to go check that.
Yeah, I had to re-listen to last year's episode to get what mine were. I think well my third one was about the jerseys and how
Hmm.
they were one of the
Whatever it
worst.
was, you were right.
Yeah, they were one of the worst things in recent baseball history. And to be fair, we've returned to the normal jerseys. There's no I haven't seen anyone say, "Man, I missed the 2024 jerseys." So, I think that's a sign I was correct on that.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, I think
yeah.
that's the most universal baseball opinion I've ever seen was everyone hating the jerseys from last year.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's so one of my biggest takeaways this weekend. It was so refreshing to see the return of the normal letters. Like
Yeah.
the way that like you look back at 2020 and you're like, man, like how did they really played games like in empty stadiums and we just accepted it as normal. Like that's how we're gonna feel in a couple of years when we look back at 2024 highlights and watch the small letters on the jerseys and the highlights.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna be
Yeah,
like,
no,
man, someone like actually thought that was okay.
yeah, it's a dark it was a dark age in baseball for
Yeah,
sure.
it was terrible. I
Um
mean, yeah, it had to be like I mean, I doubt it really was because there has been a lot of growth in popularity, especially youth wise in baseball in the last year, but it's like should have been a down year for jersey sales.
oh, for sure, for sure.
Should have been
Um
because it's like nobody wants it. Like you're gonna in 5 years you're gonna be like, dude, I just saw a Francisco Lindor 2024 jersey. Like what is going on?
not even someone who had just joined the team, not even like
Yeah,
an
exactly.
Otani or yeah, or a Yamamoto. Yeah, exactly. No, it was a dark time for sure. And then
I cannot find mine.
one of my
I think my overreactions from last year were on my email that no longer exists.
yeah, same as mine. And then one of
Yeah.
my other ones was that the Bailey pitching lab was going to take full effect. And I would say that was wrong because
Yeah.
I actually looked up after listening to that and I
They
saw
ended up roughly around the same place in pitching.
exactly in 2023 they were 20th in FIP, and in 2024 they were also 20th in FIP. So that was it
Yeah.
did not take full effect last year. And then I forget what I'm forgetting what the other one was, but I think it was about a certain player. And I'm sure it didn't fully come true.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
check it after this.
yeah, we'll have to maybe we'll edit it in later on. But yeah, so yeah, in the spirit of opening weekend overreactions, what is your first overreaction of this weekend?
Yeah, so my first overreaction involves one of my players to watch. It's a guy that actually like didn't do that well. Actually didn't do well at all if you just strictly look at the results, but I think had some very, very encouraging numbers, stuff that I'm very excited about. Ryan Mountcastle My overreaction with Ryan Mountcastle is that he will set a new career high in barrel rates. His career high is 15%, which was in 2021, I believe. Was it 2021? Was it 20? It was 2022. All right, so I was a year off. But regardless, I think Ryan Mountcastle, despite slashing 154, 154, 231 in the Blue Jays series, oddly enough, a guy that normally like kills the Blue Jays didn't do so this weekend. There was a lot of really encouraging stuff. First of all, his average bat speed this weekend was 78.6 miles per hour, which was 99th percentile. That's a 3.5 mile per hour increase from 2024. So that's obviously just a very good sign, even if it's just early. The fact that he's swing very noticeably harder than he was last year. His fast swing rate, which means his rate of swings that were over 75 miles per hour, has gone from 50.6% to 77.8%. Throughout the years, his max exit velocity ever reached was 114.6 miles per hour, which he reached both once in 2021 and once in 2023. He's already beat that twice this year. He had a 115 mile per hour line drive in the opening day game, and he hit a ball 116 today. So to set two PRs in average exit velocity twice in the first 4 games of the season for a guy that's played for 5 years now, 6 years now, very clearly that's an encouraging thing. So he hasn't gotten the results to come with it, but I mean, it's hard to really draw real conclusions over 4 games. But if you're looking at stuff like that, that is a lot more in your control, I think it does mean something. So I'm very encouraged from what I saw out of those two batted balls from Ryan Mountcastle and everything that he's done in those 4 games. And I'm quite confident that we will see some sort of resurgence from him this year, just given the fact that we're already seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the ball was really flying at Rogers Center.
It was.
Um, Speaking of the baseballs flying, my first overreaction from opening weekend of 2025 is that I think the league will have its highest runs per game since 2019.
Mhm.
Um, the the MLB currently has its highest home run to fly ball ratio in the first 4 days of a season since 2016. Um, and the league has alternated up and down run environments since 2021, with the odd numbered years being more offensive. And obviously, it's an odd numbered year. Since 2021, the home run to fly ball ratio has gone from 13.6% to 11.4% to 12.7% to 11.6%. Uh, while the runs per game has gone from 4.53 down to 4.28, up to 4.62, and then back down to 4.39. So as noted there, the home run to fly ball ratio is greatly correlated to the amount of runs per game the league scores. And the amount of 30 home run hitters in those seasons went from 43 down to 23, up to 29, and then back down to 23. So obviously, the baseball, I think it's the cause of that is the baseballs. It has nothing to do with player performance, in my opinion. I think the baseballs have allowed for fluctuation in the production of the baseballs has allowed for fluctuation in the game's offense, and that's why it's been kind of up and down since 2021. And why I say the league will have its highest runs per game since 2019. In 2019, the home run to fly ball ratio was 15.3%, which is the highest it has ever been since it started being tracked in 2002. That led the league to scoring 4.83 runs per team per game, which was the highest since 2006. So I think the home run to fly ball ratio, with it being the highest it's been since 2016 for the first 4 days of the season. Obviously, it's a very small sample size, but I think there is something to these baseballs traveling out, and it goes with the upward, what should be an upward trend in offense, given the fact that it's an odd numbered year, and it seems like every year the baseballs change. So this would be a more offensive year. So my opening weekend overreaction is that the league will have its highest runs per game since 2019. What is your second overreaction?
Yeah, that was definitely I wanted to do something similar. I'm glad that you brought it up because I believe the home runs per game is already higher than it was in any season since 2021.
Yeah,
or at
Yeah,
least it was at some point this weekend when I
and
checked.
that's unusual at this point in the year because they're like the place where there were the most home runs was Yankee Stadium, and that's obviously not a warmer climate. And there's, if those games were played in June, there would probably be even more home runs. So usually the home run to fly ball ratio at this point in the year is fairly low.
Yeah, no, it is definitely interesting to see that there's been. I mean, the OPS and stuff is where you'd think it'd be. It's in the low 700s, the high 600s, but it'll probably go up to 730-ish throughout the year in this
Yeah,
trend if it
the
continues.
the league also had, I think, I think its BABIP was like 260 something or 270 something. So I think that's
Yeah,
part of why the OPS is down right
yeah, you're
now.
right. That'll go up quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
Unless it doesn't, and we just get the most ridiculous outlier year of all time.
Yeah.
That'd be insane. My second weekend overreaction, I'm going back to the dude's name, Ryan Well. I talked about Ryan Mountcastle. Now I'm talking about Ryan Bliss, who is the second baseman for the Seattle Mariners. My prediction, my overreaction is that he will post the most F WAR by a Mariners second baseman since Robinson Cano. And that's not a very high bar. I believe the bar he has to clear is 1.4, which is he could get there. He could get there by the end of the month if all things go completely right. Although I don't think that will happen. But I think he's looked pretty good. First of all, he's been playing some really excellent defense. I do tend to watch a lot of Mariners games just because I do always have a soft spot for that franchise. And I'm very interested in their matchup with the A's, as I did actually predict the A's to finish ahead of them in the standings this year. So they did split that series. But Ryan Bliss actually impressed me quite a bit, especially on defense. He made a few really nice plays, turned a really good double play on Saturday, and the metrics show exactly what my eye was seeing. He already has 2 outs above replacements in 4 games played, which is a pretty impressive rate. That's on pace for like 80, 81 runs outs above average, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't
Yeah,
think he's
right,
gonna
right, right.
I don't think he's gonna find his way there. But I mean, I think we could see him north of 10 under that pace, and that would obviously be tremendous. I can't say with any confidence how much he's going to hit, but he does a 46.5% hard hit rate. He has a 37.2% sweet spot rate and a 21% chase rate. So there are a lot of things he's doing well offensively. Like Mountcastle, he hasn't exactly gotten the results yet. And I don't know to what degree he's going to, but I do feel quite confident in his defense. He also has zero point 0.4 BSR and zero point 0.7 defensive runs above average. So the Fangraph stuff supports his cause as well. Yeah, like I said, not a very high bar to clear, but the Mariners have been desperate for any stability at second base essentially since Cano. They've gone through, Adam Frazier. They've gone through Colton Wong. They are currently going through Jorge Polanco. They tried Dylan Moore. They tried Shed Long. They just haven't really found their guy. Ryan Bliss is 25 years old and playing in his first full season. I think he's presenting himself as a guy that could be sort of a glimmer of hope, at least for right now, that maybe they have someone that can stick at that position right now
Yeah, for sure,
before
for
before
sure.
all of the shortstop prospects come up and they get to pick between one of those guys.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, he could serve as something different at second base, hopefully, hoping that curse can kind of break for them because it's been holding them back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But my second overreaction is revolving around a different player, and definitely a high profile guy who's both in both our top 50s and both just cracked our top 25s. And I think Fernando Tatis Jr. is bound for a 40-40 season.
Yeah.
Um, through his through his first 3 games, he is hitting 417 with a 1084 OPS. Well, I guess this is past tense because he did start his fourth game just a couple hours ago. But through his first 3 games, he was hitting 417 with a 1087 OPS and had an 892 expected slugging. He was underperforming his expected metrics despite having a 1084 OPS. And he had barreled 2 of his 11 batted balls. And almost most importantly, he pulled both of those barrels. And something we've kind of pointed out is how he's been having trouble pulling fly balls, pulling barrels um, over the last 2 years. And that's kind of been something that's hampered his hitting a little bit. If he's pulling barrels and pulling fly balls, that's going to lead to a lot more home runs. Fernando Tatis Jr. also has two stolen bases, with both of them coming at third base. And as all of us know, much harder to steal third base than second base. So the fact that he stole third base twice in a limited amount of opportunities, that is a really, really good sign. He has stolen on 2 of 5 opportunities, or had stolen on 2 of 5 opportunities heading into Sunday. Last year, he stole on less than 10% of stolen base opportunities, which was likely a result of the stress reaction, or I think the stress fracture in his right femur. He was on a almost sort of a broken leg for part of 2024, and I think that's why his stolen bases went way down. He only stole 11 bases last year. Yeah, I think this weekend for me kind of served as a reminder of that. We haven't seen Fernando Tatis Jr. healthy, or in a full healthy season, or not coming off a long layoff since 2021. And in that 2021 season, he hit 42 home runs, so that checks off one box, and then he stole 25 bases under the old rules. So, if he brings that 2021 ability, which I think he can, to the new rules, I think a 40-40 season is in place for him. As long as he stays on the field, and there's nothing to make me believe that he won't. So yeah, I think, based on what I saw this past weekend, him stealing third base twice and pulling barrels, I think he could be in a really good spot to make some history this year. What is your third overreaction?
I just want to say Fernando Tatis Jr. was batting the entire time you were doing that monologue, and I was
Hmm.
really hoping he would homer. He walked. Uh,
Okay.
but I would have been so beautiful if he just, yanked a fly ball down the left field line that went like at the Western Metal Supply building.
Yeah,
Would have been
exactly.
beautiful. If you're saying he's going to have a 40-40 season, it would statistically be bolder to then say after that that he makes the Hall of Fame one day.
Oh, wait.
No
Oh
member of the
yeah, because
40-40 club has ever made it to the Hall of Fame.
that's true. Yeah, he's gonna screw himself by getting into the 40-40 club,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry, Otani. You're not going to
Yeah.
be there. Sorry, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah.
You
Sorry
guys just
about it.
did. You guys just took to the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what before that it was Bonds, it was Canseco, it was A-Rod, and
Soriano.
it was Alfonso Soriano.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the four members who did it. Um, my third overreaction, and this kind of gets into I think the big story, the one that we haven't the one that we haven't gotten to, and this is a little more a silly spin on it with how I'm wording this. Aaron Lenhart will be a top 5 most well-known name in the Marlins organization by the end of the year. In case you don't know, Aaron Lenhart is the analyst formerly with the Yankees, now the field coordinator with the Miami Marlins, who developed the Torpedo bat. If you haven't been following baseball for the last couple of days, the Torpedo bat is literally the biggest story going. It is a new style of baseball bat that puts more wood down the barrel towards the handle and less at the end of the bat, which gives a lot more power to a different part of the bat. Most notably, the Yankees have been using it. Obviously, they hit 12 home runs, I think, in the first 3 games of their season or something like that. They hit 9 on actually they had more than that, but they had 9 on Saturday. There are other teams using as well, but it is most closely been associated with the Yankees. Um, and I don't really know what the Marlins are going to look like by the end of the year, although they did have a very fun weekend, 3 wins, 3 walk-offs. So shout out to them. Shout out to justbaseball.com's Jack McMullen, who is their radio broadcaster, covered his first or called his first few games this weekend. So yeah, I don't really know what the organization looks like, but I do know that Aaron Lenhart will probably be a media darling for the next at least like month. The New York Times has already done a feature on him. There's been several things written. I'm sure like Jeff Passan will do a story on him by the end of the month. Uh, so he will be the most requested media person in the Marlins clubhouse, I would imagine, the next couple of weeks. And I don't see him going anywhere at the end of this year. So yeah, I think the developer of the Torpedo bat will be. I mean, it's already the biggest story in baseball right now. I'm sure it will be, as long as more teams and players keep picking it up. But yeah, that's my take on the Torpedo bat.
Yeah, that's a great take. Because yeah, the Marlins, not a crazy amount of competition for notoriety right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
So
especially if Sandy Alcantara gets traded.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the popularity is for Otto Lopez at the current moment, but he is not, he did not develop the torpedo bat, so that's not as relevant. So, but yeah, so my last overreaction of the weekend is talking about a team. And yeah, I have to jump the gun, say, I think the Dodgers are taking the wins record this year.
Oh, wow.
I think they'll get to 117.
The 117 mark. Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend,
Is that an overreaction?
I mean, I
We've been
I
saying
would
that. People have been saying this all offseason. I'm kidding. But like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's an over yeah, it would be an overreaction to say they win less than 117 games actually.
yeah. Yeah, I watched these 5-0 Dodgers. I don't know, man. They almost lost that game on Saturday. They had to get bailed out by the umps on that Margot call. I don't see it. It's an
Right.
overreaction. No, I'll let you go though.
But yeah, this weekend made me realize so much had to go wrong for the Dodgers to win only 98 games last year. Um, Seeing Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman hit homers made me remember how uncharacteristic last season was for each of them, whether that be performance-wise or health-wise, specifically for Mookie Betts. Seeing Yamamoto strike out 10 batters assured me that he can be dangerous over a full season. Seeing Michael Conforto hit three doubles so far this year has been a reminder of the quality lower profile additions they made. And the fact that the Dodgers have played 5 games and Tyler Glasnow is on the active roster and has not pitched in any of them tells you all you need to know about them. Um, Tyler Glasnow's a great pitcher, fantastic pitcher. I think would be consensus top 20 at least, top 10 on your list for sure. And he has not pitched a single game for them, despite being a really, really good pitcher. That is a luxury that only the Dodgers can have, at least this year. There's no other team where that's a possibility. It's pretty unbelievable, and yeah, it just like the depth and watching the Tigers face them, it was a fairly competitive series, and this didn't change my thoughts at all about the Tigers, but like looking at it and seeing the Tigers try to seal some of those games or get out of some jams, and it's like, oh, another really good hitter is up. Like, oh, we got past like, the top three, but it's like, okay, Will Smith is up. He's a guy that usually gets like a 115, 120 OPS plus, or, Michael Conforto's up. He's, a breakout candidate for
Hey,
this year.
Oscar. Yeah.
Teoscar Hernandez. Or yeah, he's the cleanup hitter.
Tommy Edman, and it's a lefty pitching.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, it's just, it's never ending. And then the pitching staff is even more never ending, considering the fact that Tyler Glasnow has yet to pitch a game for them, and it's not a health issue. It's just, I guess he's not good enough, according to according to
Well, I mean, they also rolled back their first two starters already.
yeah, right. That
There's
is a
that caveat.
it is a special scenario that they were in Japan,
Yeah.
and played their first 2 games 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I think, in for at least half the teams in Major League Baseball, at least, Tyler Glasnow is an opening day starter, and he's just kind of like waiting around, waiting for his turn when he's on the Dodgers. So yeah, I'll say they take the wins record because it is a reminder. Like, yeah, they won 98 games, but if just a couple things went more right, it would be like 105. And if everything went right, it would be 110, 112 maybe. And they've only added to that. So yeah, why not? Why not them to win 117 games?
Why
Um,
not?
so
Why not us? That's the thing the Dodgers are saying right now, but that's the
yeah,
thing they've
yeah,
been
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, just yeah, the lovable
The
idiots.
yeah, the lovable underdog Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
The
so
most heartwarming story in baseball right now.
yeah, right. I mean, very, very easy to root for. The final thing I wanted to get into before we get into our first edition of players to highlight, sort of to piggyback off of the thing you talked about, Aaron Lemhart and the Yankees bats discussion, went viral over the internet. I do want to acknowledge it a little bit because it is, it is the hottest topic in baseball right now, I guess. And I don't think it will be that big of a deal for much longer. At least in terms of specific to the Yankees, the bats themselves might.
It's gotta like we have to see noticeable changes in league offense if more players take it on.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, so I mean, before I get into some of the numbers that I put down, what were kind of your initial thoughts on this?
My initial thought, and this kind of goes off, this is definitely hypothetical, but I think it would be very funny if we get a scenario where let's say the majority of the league takes on this bat, whether it be players, whether it be teams, whatever. And we get like the highest league batting averages since 2019. We get maybe even somehow lower strikeout rates because they have been going marginally down. And it's like we did it. We fixed the three true outcomes because of one guy creating a bat. And it's like the universal coming together of baseball fans alike, pro analytics and anti, to be like, we've done it. Batting averages are back up, stolen bases are up, strikeouts are down. It's baseball as it once was. And it all happened because of this one nerd who,
Yeah,
who made a bat. Um, no, my initial actual takeaway, it's cool, it's interesting. I really didn't understand the fans asking if it was legal or not, given that the first place that I saw it was Michael K breaking it down on the Yankees, on the Yes Network. If they were doing something illegal, why would Michael K be the first one I see talking about it and doing a full breakdown on what it is and how it came about? Like
right.
that seems very counterintuitive. I was
Yeah.
mentioning you wouldn't have like the Root Sports Network in 2017 doing a breakdown of the Astros sign stealing method from that year. Like if
Yeah.
they were doing something nefarious, I think you wouldn't have immediately seen it on the Yes Network on in the second game of the season.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very accurate parallel there. Um, yeah, I kind of saw it, and it just so happens that the Yankees broadcast was talking about it, and they also scored 20 runs in that game.
They
This
also happen to hit the franchise record for home runs in a game, a record,
Yeah,
for a franchise that's existed for 120 years.
yeah, they hit what, 8 homers? Yeah,
9.
9 homers on Saturday, and
Yeah.
they yeah.
I mean, it couldn't have been a coincidence for sure.
Um,
There's definitely not.
yeah, well, I'm gonna dive into some numbers about the Yankees.
Please.
Because so in their I'm not going to be talking about today's anything involving today's game, Sunday's game, because there's no StatCast data for it right now. So I'll only be talking about the first two games. The Yankees in their first two games were slugging 855 with a 1290 OPS. So yeah, obviously that does ring some bells. And they hit 11 home runs in those first two games. However, their average exit velocity ranked sixth in baseball. Um, here's why they were hitting so many home runs. They led baseball in uh, barrel rate and exit velocity on fly balls, and squared up rate on fly balls. And squared up rate is the stat I would use most to um, think about, like, okay, is there a discrepancy with these torpedo bats? Because squared up rate is getting like 80th percentile uh
Potential
potent
potential exit velocity
yeah,
given
80%.
the pitch speed and bat speed.
Yeah, given the pitch speed and bat speed. So if you're squaring up way more batted balls than you should be, you could kind of point to the bat on that. That's my thinking of it. And they led on that in on fly balls. However, they were 20th in baseball in squared up rate and exit velocity on non-fly balls. So I think just they were lifting it well and hitting really well on fly balls specifically. If the bats were that effective, I don't think they would be 20th in baseball in squared up rate and exit velocity on non-fly balls. I think the effect would be universal. So I don't think you can point to the bats and be like, that's what's making them hit 9 home runs in a game, or scoring 32 runs over a 2-day span. Um, I think it just, I don't think it's fully coincidence, but I think it just happened that the Yankees were lifting the ball really well and hitting really productive fly balls. As we've kind of prefaced, also, I think other teams are also using torpedo bats and not scoring 20 runs in a game. So,
Mhm.
when the Yankees,
They're not facing
eventually,
Nestor Cortez.
yeah, who's like, yeah, you know what? I've given up two runs in a row. I'll throw 92 middle in to Aaron Judge.
Yeah, actually,
That
well, technically three home runs in a row if you go back to last season.
um wait. Oh yeah, wait. What was the
The
last
last
hitter? What
it
was
was
the
Freddie
last?
Freeman.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, he didn't pitch the rest of the series.
No, no,
So yeah, I've given up four, given up
three
three home
straight
runs
home
in a
runs.
row.
Yeah,
You know what sounds good right now? Fastball at the belt to Aaron Judge.
on the first
Um,
pitch.
yeah, that'll work. But uh, but yeah, so all in all, I think that's to say that maybe these bats are having some sort of effect, but the it's not all the bats. I think they were hitting the ball really well, seeing the ball really well, and when they score two runs on like Wednesday, I think this conversation will be mostly over. Um, but yeah, did you have any more thoughts on it?
It's fun. I mean, it's a fun start of the season story. Like I think it's getting a lot of people engaged.
Yeah,
With league wide affairs, which I think is good. Um, I'm very interested to see how where this goes. Like how many more hitters use it? How many more teams use it? Is there a noticeable effect in league wide offense? We'll have to see. I mean, there's obviously it's hard to really say. And yeah, I think bold take. I do think the Yankees offense will regress to where they were this weekend against the Brewers. I don't think they will continue to average 13 or 14 home runs every 3 game span.
yeah, right. They're not going to be
Yeah, I don't
hitting
know.
5 home runs a game.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, no, it's nice. It's a nice spicy thing, and it revolves around obviously, the most well-known team in baseball, or
Mhm.
most, historically successful
I would
team in
have to assume the
baseball.
Marlins are using it, right? I haven't heard much about them using it, but the coach that designed it is
Yeah.
literally with the Marlins now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But yeah, this is the first news in bat construction, I feel like that's been widely
Yeah.
talked about since the axe handle bat. And when that,
Yeah. And that was what, like 6, 7 years ago now?
yeah, like 2017, 2018 maybe.
Because I remember hearing about it a lot with about Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
Like
no,
he was kind of the face of it, right?
yeah, 100. That's the guy I was thinking of. Like I
hmm
picture the
Maybe
Nesson
that's just a
broadcast
Red
talking
Sox
about it.
fan thing, but I mean, he was also the best player in the league around that time,
True,
or
true,
one
true,
of
true.
them, and known for his like quick hands for getting inside the ball.
Yeah, and he wasn't the same, or he wasn't the only person using the axe handle bat, but it would be like us talking about the Yankees, the bats being the cause of the Yankees offense doing so well this weekend. That would be like saying that Mookie Betts having the axe bat is the
Was an
reason he
axe
won
handle bat
MVP.
merchant.
Yeah, he that was the reason he won MVP in 2018. That, you know, I think I think it's more just happenstance that they happen to be using that bat while they were performing really, really well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a fun, spicy story that fills up time in a podcast. So why not talk about it a little bit?
I mean,
Um,
yeah, like I said, there's already been like the New York Times wrote a feature on Lenhart today. There's been a couple other things, but being like meet the MIT guy that that is changing, that is revolutionizing bat structure in Major League Baseball.
yeah.
Um, I'm sure it will only. I don't think the story's hit its peak yet, for sure. I
Um,
think you'd probably agree with that.
yeah, that's an interesting point.
Like I think there is a ways to go up before it goes back down.
Right, right. I mean, it would be. I don't know if I would fully agree with that because the as soon like it just so happened that as soon as people started talking about it, Yankees hit 9 home runs. It's
Mhm.
going to be hard to top that, in my opinion.
I think
Um,
if there's just more teams doing better, like not 9 home runs better, but like the White Sox start using it and they immediately score like 6 runs in 2 straight games
yeah,
against maybe like a good pitching staff. I don't know who they're facing coming up.
right. Yeah, I guess the story can. I think it can
Because
have
like
more.
if it keeps growing locally in enough places, like it will become, a little bit more national by the day.
Yeah, I think it can get more layered, but it won't be as like spicy a discussion.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's fair. The hottest takes are coming out now,
yeah, right, right,
for
right.
sure.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Anything more before we get into players to highlight?
No, let's do some how about that and some slightly alarmings.
Yeah, first time since September. Pretty
Yup,
wild. But
yup.
yeah, so we will start with the lows. So we end with the highs, and we are going to be talking about players or subjects that have been underperforming these past few days. Talking our Sunday, March 30th, 2025 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
Oh my God, I forgot we start with slightly alarming.
yes.
Oh my God, I'm so washed. Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. We probably match on this, right?
I don't think so. I tried to not go.
Okay, if it's not the obvious one, then we don't
Yeah,
match. I went the obvious route because I think someone had to.
bro, oh, for sure.
All right, so yes, I am talking about the player that has made kind of national headlines with his struggles. A historically bad start to a season, unfortunately. And there is some, some prelude to it. He was making headlines during spring training for perhaps not the right reasons. And, he hasn't, his play so far has not helped his cause. I'm talking, of course, about Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox, who went 0 for 16 with 12 strikeouts this weekend against the Rangers. Not only was he going 0 for 16 with 12 strikeouts, but he was whiffing on stuff that he's supposed to hit, like low velocity breaking balls, stuff in the zone. Like a lot of times he was late on 92, on even like stuff in the 80s. Like it was really uncomfortable to watch. I'm sure you probably had the same feel for it as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So Rafael Devers is the first player in baseball history with 12 or more strikeouts in the first 4 games of a season. He was also the first player with 10 or more strikeouts in the first 3 games of the season, and then he faced Jacob deGrom today, which is not what you want to see when you're in that kind of a slump. He joins 2021 Keston Hiura as the only players with 0 hits and multiple strikeouts in each of the first 4 games of any season. So that's this historic stuff, but now looking inward to see what makes this slightly alarming. His average bat speed has gone from 72.5 miles per hour in 2024 to just 69 miles per hour so far this year. That is a 3.5, 2.5 point drop, 2.5 point drop, I think, right? Yeah, two and a
Yeah.
half. 2.5 point drop, which is quite severe. His fast swing rate has gone from 27.9% to 12.9%. So, like I said earlier from Ryan Mountcastle, a lot of that stuff that you can control a little bit more of has been quite considerably down for him in this span, which I don't love. Additionally, and this is a very new thing on Baseball Savant, in 2024, Devers had the most open stance in the league with a 67 degrees open stance, which means that his stance was 67 degrees. His foot was like that way towards the pitcher, which is very open. And in 2025, that already widest stance in the league among qualifiers has gone up to 77% open. So he has changed up his stance a little bit as well to become even more extreme in the thing that he's already extreme at. Who knows what the real cause is, but I think the bat speed's definitely a major caveat, especially when you're whiffing on stuff that often. But the change in stance, I think, is also worth noting as well. So Rafael Devers, of course, is my slightly alarming.
Yeah, he is that is a major concern among us Red Sox
Probably the
fans.
most legitimately concerning first episode slightly alarming we've ever done. Because
Yeah, yeah,
normally it's just like, this guy went over 10, he struck out, he'll be fine.
right.
And I do think Devers will be fine. But I mean, in terms of just how bad it looked this weekend, and like I mentioned with the bat speed, with the stance earlier, this is stuff that is in his control. It's not just like, he had an 80% pop up rate this week or something.
Right, right. I forgot to add the
The sound.
sound effect.
Let me hear that Australian man.
Very, very Australian man.
That has a very Australian accent.
Or the Photos app is new, so it's gonna loop now, I think,
Oh
unfortunately.
boy.
Yeah, Rafael Devers.
Alarming. Slightly alarming.
It did loop,
So
yeah.
yeah, it'll loop. Maybe I'll have to just fully edit it in
I
on the
love that
computer
guy
instead.
that's from Australia talking about the wildfires, and he sounds exactly like it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I'm sure I could change that in my photo settings and make it not a loop, but right now it's looping. My slightly alarming is someone who was talked about a lot over the offseason because he was a new addition and he has made his first two major league starts of the year, but first two major league starts of his career. But there have been some alarming things about those starts. I'm talking about Roki Sasaki of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it is kind of fully based off of his control. In 26 batters faced in his two starts, Sasaki has a 35% walk rate. Among the 78 pitchers to face 15 plus batters heading into Sunday, he has the highest walk rate. He has thrown 62% of his pitches out of the strike zone, and out of 86 pitchers to throw 50 plus pitches heading into Sunday, that ranked sixth highest. And he has also thrown 46% of his pitches in the chase and waste attack zones, which is the highest rate out of 86. For those unaware, the attack zones are kind of broken into four categories. That's heart of the zone, the shadow zones, which is kind of where you want to put it, the chase zones, which is chase zones are kind of where you want to throw when you're ahead of the count with two strikes, and then the waste zones, which are usually non-competitive pitches and usually don't get swung at. And Roki Sasaki has thrown the highest rate of pitches in the chase and waste zones. And not only is he throwing the ball out of the strike zone, he is not inducing swings on those pitches. Out of 92 pitchers to throw 25 plus pitches out of the zone so far this year, Roki Sasaki has the 13th lowest chase rate. And also to note, he has a much larger sample size than most at this point, as he has two starts and most starters only have one. So it's even more alarming than some of those, those rates those rate stats and rate rankings are almost more alarming because he's had two starts to avoid the extremes, but he has found the extremes unfortunately over these past two starts. So Roki Sasaki,
slightly alarming.
Yeah, it hasn't been very fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Hopefully he gets out of that funk, but yeah, now we go from the lows to the highs, where we are talking players and subjects that have been outperforming expectations with our March 30th, 2025 edition of How About That?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
He is getting a
How about that?
Yes, so as is tradition, with this being the first How About That of the year, I am doing two of them, one for a hitter and one for a pitcher. This is a tradition that I started, I believe, in 2021. Maybe it was 2020. I don't know. Hey, I'm also crossing two teams off the list.
There we go.
Yeah. The odds were very, very slim to do that, of course. I literally could have just I literally just had to throw the stone into the pond that was 2 feet in front of me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you could have picked two players on the same team.
That is true. That is true. My first How About That is Keibert Ruiz from the Washington Nationals. He hit 2 home runs over the weekend against the Phillies at home. And overall, after the first 3 games of his season, he is slashing 500, 545, 1200 for 1745 OPS and a 399 weighted runs created plus. Among the 187 hitters so far this year that are qualified, he ranks tied for 5th in batting average, tied for 9th in OBP, 5th in slugging, 5th in OPS, and 3rd in weighted runs created plus. So he's been one of the elite hitters so far, and it is 3 games, but hey, we're talking about who stood out in these 3 games, and Keibert Ruiz is that for me, and for good reason. Like I said, he hit 2 home runs this weekend, which respectively had exit velocities of 99.2 miles per hour and 101.6 miles per hour, both of which rank in the top 16 of Ruiz's 124 fly balls hit since 2024. So there were 2 of his harder hit fly balls over the last year plus. And obviously both of them left the yard as such. Entering today, Ruiz's rate of swings reaching 70 miles per hour, which is not a lot, but anything faster than what you can typically do is good. It went from 10.6% in 2023 and 24 combined to 17.6% in these 3 games. So he has increased his average bat speed. It's gone up a little over a mile per hour since 2024, which is always a good sign. And I'm talking about Keibert Ruiz because I really considered putting him as a player to watch, but I was very concerned about these specific things, the exit velocity on the fly balls, the bat speed. I was worried that they were going to hold him back because there was a lot of potential. And I say that because in 2024, Keibert Ruiz pulled 41% of his fly balls, which was tied for the 6th highest among the 101 hitters with at least 100 fly balls hit. However, his 90.5 mile per hour average exit velocity on fly balls was the 3rd lowest on that same list last year. So this means that he was doing the right things to get himself more, a better distribution of power, converting more fly balls into home runs. However, he just wasn't getting enough power behind those fly balls to actually do that. And if he can actually do that this year, if those 2 fly balls are an indication of anything to come this year, there's a real good chance we could see an actual breakout of Keibert Ruiz offensively this year because he has a skill set to be an Isaac Paredes type. He just has to actually, put the power behind it. And we've seen a mini display of it this weekend. So there's definitely a lot to be encouraged about with those 2 fly balls alone.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Keibert Ruiz.
How about that?
Did you want me to go?
I'll have you go. We'll switch off.
Yeah. My how about that? Talking about a player, opening day pitcher, opening day starter who probably wouldn't be an opening day starter on virtually any other team, but showed why he was chosen on Friday. Talking about Kyle Freeland of the Colorado Rockies. On Friday against the Rays, he put up 6 shutout innings with 2 hits, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. On 13 batted balls, Freeland allowed only 1 in the sweet spot zone, which obviously produces a low quality contact against you, very in a positive sense, obviously. Most notably, he posted a 42% called strike and whiff rate, and out of 86 pitchers to throw 50 plus pitches heading into Sunday, he had the highest called strike and whiff rate. He also had the 2nd lowest expected WOBA against, 5th lowest expected batting average against, and 5th lowest expected slugging against. He also featured a sweeper for the first time in his career, and he used it 21% of the time. Hitters went 0 for 6 with 3 strikeouts against it with a 38% whiff rate. So, had a better called strike and whiff rate than anybody in baseball so far, and featured a new pitch, and that resulted in 6 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts and no walks. So a wonderful performance by Kyle Freeland, and he gets a...
How about that?
And on to your second, how about that?
Yeah, my pitcher, how about that? Is Kyle Freeland really an opening day starter? I mean, he didn't start on opening day.
That is a caveat that I forgot.
I will give it to you. It was I ranked him in my ranking the opening day pitching matchups article for Just Baseball. Don't look at where he was ranked.
Okay. Yeah,
don't look at where he versus Ryan Pepio ranked among the 15 matchups that I put on that list.
I won't look.
It was top 15. I'll say that.
Okay, at least there's that.
Yeah, it was top 15 out of the 15. And that's about all you can say. My pitcher, how about that, also started on Friday and looked very encouraging. I would say this is probably not a guy that was eligible this time last year for how about that because he, came up as a top prospect. He was a very highly touted draft prospect when he was pitching at Vanderbilt. And, he made not his major league debut, but definitely the most encouraging major league start of his young career. And that is Jack Leiter from the Texas Rangers, who looked good on Friday. He pitched 5 innings against the Red Sox. He allowed a 1 earned run and struck out 4 batters. The thing that really stood out to me watching this game was what the four-seamer was looking like. It averaged 97.8 miles per hour, which is tied for the 2nd highest in any game that he has been tracked with between the minors and majors since he was drafted in 2021. In his time as a professional, in the time that we have data, there's only been 1 game where Jack Leiter had a higher average four-seam velocity than we saw on Friday against the Red Sox. And given that it's his first start of the year, I think that's obviously a very good sign that hopefully that's something that we could see going forward. But my biggest real takeaway was the sinker, which Jack Leiter tossed out there. Between the minors and majors from 2021 to 24, Jack Leiter only threw his sinker 3 times, and they were last year in the majors. On Friday, he threw it 24 times. So that's a massive increase, 3 times in 4 years, 24 times in 1 game alone. Hitters went 1 for 5 against the sinker with 2 strikeouts and an average launch angle of 2 degrees, which is, that's exactly what you're supposed to do out of a sinker. You're supposed to get ground balls. I think it is quite interesting that at such a young age and with, such a big strikeout profile, he is going to the sinker this much. But, I think obviously he gave up a lot of hard contact and a lot of stuff in the air last year. I think a pitch that can, keep stuff on the ground will be very helpful. The 4-seam fastball produced a whiff rate of 35.3% as well, which was encouraging. And additionally, his 56 game score on Friday was the score he's produced in any game throughout his major league career. So it was a very encouraging start from Jack Leiter. Didn't get the most in terms of like F4, you're not going to see him atop the F4 leaderboards, although you will see him on that first page. But I think he's definitely a big make or break piece in the Rangers rotation this year. And if that start is any indication of what we can see this year, I think there's a lot of reasons to be very encouraged. So Jack Leiter is my second. How about that for the opening weekend?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. He looked stuff looked good on Friday. Yeah, that does it for players to highlight, or actually gotta drop in the sound, Jack Leiter.
How about that?
But yeah, that shall do it for players to highlight. Anything more before we want to wrap this up?
It was just a fun weekend. I don't know. I enjoyed this is a top tier weekend of the year for me. I had someone when I was at work on opening day, a friend of mine, a coworker came in, saw that I was wearing my Red Sox jersey and said, like, Daniel, where does this day rank for you, like throughout the year? And I said 1, because that is really truly what I believe. Like I would work Christmas before I work the baseball slate time of the day on opening day. Like it's such a special day. It's such a great day around the baseball world. And the first weekend, like the opening day is a 4-day period for me. It's that Thursday through Sunday. And this slate delivered for sure. That the Dodgers Tigers game on Friday, I believe it was really good. Right, that was the Friday game, that was the Friday game. The Marlins 3 walk-offs were really cool this weekend. There was some good games, good series. And just very fun weekend of baseball.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, it's nice also that I think baseball used to at certain points start the season on a Monday, and I'm glad that Thursday through Sunday is kind of
Yeah.
It adds to the excitement of the season for sure, and being able to, at least, for the regularly scheduled workers, at least Friday night through Sunday, you can just sit around and watch baseball all day if you want to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are your views of like people that say opening day should be a national holiday?
I mean, obviously a fraction of the American population are baseball fans, so I'm sure I don't know. I'm not one to be like there should not be holidays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
it
would be cool.
A take that I saw this week that I thought was quite interesting is like MLB should like make the Reds the first game of the year every year on opening day, which I would subscribe to that. Like I think the same way that the NFL does, like they put the Lions on TV every Thanksgiving, no matter how irrelevant they are. I know it's not, I know that have been very relevant for the last couple of years, but I mean, I think everyone has memories of watching a nice like 4-7 Lions team on Thanksgiving. Like put the Reds as like the first game. Put the Reds as the only 1 o'clock game on opening day and have everyone else play from like 4 through the end of the night. I would subscribe to that.
Yeah, that was a tradition at some point, and they let it
Run
go.
it back.
Yeah, it was I'm looking on Wikipedia. It says For decades, the first pitch of every major league season officially took place in Cincinnati.
Was it
Which I get.
televised though?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the
Obviously,
thing. It's
it
got to
was
be
in like this.
televised.
I think it was in the '60s, so that
Yeah, so
wasn't.
no, it was not.
It wasn't like a media tradition.
Yeah,
Um,
see that's the thing. Make it a media thing. Like make the Reds make all eye put all eyes on the Reds to start each season. Like opening day, like obviously Cincinnati does opening day like no other. There's that downtown parade that they do every year. They're always given a home game except for 1990 for some reason. Although maybe that's a sign. That is something that I do think is hilarious. Is they didn't have a home game to start the 1990 season, and that also just so happens to be the last time they won the World Series.
yeah, pretty
I'm
wild
just
for
saying.
sure. Um, yeah, no, the yeah, it would be nice, and then also like just the national attention being like, man, this could be Hunter Green's year. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen like
yeah.
every single year.
Well, last year was pretty good.
It was good. I mean, yeah, it was
It
definitely
was
good,
good.
but
It was really good. He
yeah,
he kept a lot of fly balls in the yard.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, but yeah, anything before we wrap this up?
I think that is it for the opening weekend podcast, our sixth opening year podcast on the history of this podcast. This
Yeah, for sure.
podcast is set to enter free agency after this year. That's crazy.
True, yeah, we had an Alex Kirilloff like start to our career in that we started in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. A
Um,
Shane McClanahan type, if you will.
yes, indeed, indeed. And yeah, we're yeah, it's a contract year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really focused. Came in spring training, best shape of our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just looking to.
Very happy with the arbitration process, how that went.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Um, but yeah, that shall do
But
it for this installment.
we'll not be talking about extensions during the season.
Yeah. Yeah,
The deadline for that was on open day. Didn't
yeah,
happen.
the we don't want any distractions, The
Yeah.
open market is gonna treat us how it will. So
Hmm. And hey,
indeed.
we're more than welcome to return though. We love it here. Uh,
Yeah.
we want to be here the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, we love this city. We love this city. This is home for me.
And
This
this
above
is the only
replacement
this is the
radio.
only platform well actually that's not true. This is the only thing we've ever known.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah,
We
that shall
were
do it.
we were traded over from the radio team after after our one little cup of coffee.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right during COVID.
Yeah, I mean we've been here since age 19, our age 19 season. Yeah,
That
I'm
is
very,
true.
very excited to be hitting free agency going into age 26. That's very, I think, good for both of us.
Yeah, I mean the last guy who did it, it turned out pretty well for him.
Yeah,
So yeah, we're hoping to get the same treatment. That's
yeah.
for sure. But yeah, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you were listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation, as it happens, go to the YouTube channel. We've got lots of content over there and obviously on the audio platforms, but we got some cool playlists on the YouTube channel. If you're curious where we think each position is at, in terms of rankings, like top 10 first baseman, second baseman, what have you, go to the 2025 positional rankings playlist. If you want to see some cool interviews that we've done, we've had a lot of guests. We've had Jeff Pastanon, Chris Rose, Foolish Bailey, Sarah Langs, Mike Petriello, Matt Brash, Anthony Castrovins, Mark Simon on 4 times. And yeah, go check out the guest playlist on the Above Replacement Radio YouTube channel for that. And follow the show or follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs.
Great time, by the way, to go follow the show on Instagram, as we just posted an Instagram reel. Go check out some information about Jesus Luzardo's new pitch that he debuted this weekend.
Yes, indeed. It is very intriguing, especially, if you're a Phillies fan wondering about your new addition, because he made a new addition. So feel free to check that out on the Above Replacement Radio Instagram. And yeah, until then, we will see you next week, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. See you then.
This conversation is over.